Joining me now with more is Greg Faranello. He's head of U.S. rates at AmeriVet Securities. Greg, it's great to have you on the show this morning. S&P 500 rising above 7,000 for the first time ever. What does this mean as the Fed is set to meet this afternoon?
Thank you, Kristen, for having us again. You know, we've been, in general, I think you know it, we've been, in general, very constructive on markets. With regard to the Fed today, certainly, you know, they're going to be on hold here, I think, short term. Rates have come down. We still believe rates are going to come down this year as well. But with regard to markets in general, I think they're taking their cue from Washington. And I think the news flow that's coming out is very, very constructive. It takes a little time to filter through, but in general, we like the markets here still.
Okay, and let's talk about earnings and how they factor into the picture as we are amid what will be the busiest week for earnings reports during this season, Greg.
So, you know, the earnings numbers, I think, are going to be pretty constructive across the board. I mean, I think the economy in general, when I look at the numbers across the board, we're still constructive on this economy. I know the narrative changes from time to time, but we still, you know, we like tech, we like the earnings numbers that are coming out, and we still think the economy here in the U.S. is very strong.
Okay, a strong economy, no rate move by the Fed chair. How does this set us up, though, for 2026? Markets had been pricing in 2 rate cuts in 2026 based on takeaways from Davos on the outlook of the economy. Do you think 2 rate cuts are the right path forward?
I think we probably get more, is my sense. I think right now the market is priced appropriately for everything that we see. Even if you look at the long end of the curve, GDP is running really, really hot, and inflation is running slightly higher than expected. But I do think, you know, if you look at neutral rates in general, we've got room to come down. It's more than 50 basis points. And I would expect the Fed to come down at least 2 times, probably 3 times this year.
Mm-hmm. And I'm curious, in terms of Fed Chair Powell's replacement, of course, his term as the Fed Chair does come to an end this year. We'll see that 2:30 p.m. Q&A with members of the press that the Fed Chair will be a key part of here. Who could be in the wings, new names emerging that you think could take over as Fed Chair?
Well, I think the list has been narrowed down. We personally have been vocal about Fed Governor Waller as a good replacement for Chairman Powell. We do think Chair Powell will stay on through the remainder of his term. We don't think he'll stay on. He has the ability to stay on longer than that, but we don't really see that happening. Certainly, BlackRock's CIO, Rick Rieder, has emerged a little bit as a candidate here. So, the list is small. Ultimately, this is the president's decision in terms of who he wants and why he wants it. Kevin Warsh, certainly on the list. NEC Chair Kevin Hassett, I think, has been taken off the list. So the list is very, very narrow. We expect a decision to come fairly soon. And I think the pool of candidates across the board, regardless of who the president picks, I think the pool of candidates is very, very strong. And I think the markets will be okay either way he goes, because, you know, you've got someone like Rick Rieder, who is a market expertise guy, and the markets like that. Fed Governor Waller is a great economist, and he's got a good forward-looking outlook in terms of, you know, where he sees things. And, you know, Kevin Warsh is also a market guy and someone that has sit on the board of governors over time. So I think, irregardless of where the president goes here right now, the markets are going to focus on, you know, the economy, where earnings are going, and I think the markets are in good shape here.
We'll be watching the resiliency of these U.S. markets from the New York Stock Exchange. Greg, always good to have you on the show. That's Greg Faranello. He's head of U.S. rates at AmeriVet Securities.